Have you ever stopped to think that the real villain of your productivity might be inside your own mind? Overthinking, or the excessive thoughts, is one of the greatest thieves of peace and clarity we face today. It creeps in silently, disguised as worry or an attempt to control, and before we know it, we are trapped in a cycle of anxiety. Life will inevitably test you. At some point, you will lose something or someone you love. It could be a job, a relationship, or even a dream. There is no use in running from this. Loss is like a storm that arrives uninvited, but just like any storm, it too will pass. The secret lies in preparing mentally and emotionally to face these moments with resilience. Imagine yourself as a tree that, instead of breaking, bends with the wind, adapting to the force of nature. And here's an important detail: no one is exempt from these difficulties. It may seem that some people live perfect lives, but if we look closely, we all carry our burdens. What makes the difference is how each person chooses to deal with adversity. The practice of mindfulness, for instance, can be a powerful tool in this process of self-discovery, helping to cultivate patience and acceptance in the face of the inevitable. Being aware of these realities prepares you to face them head-on, rather than being caught off guard. True strength arises when you decide not to be a victim of your circumstances. Instead of focusing on pain or loss, focus on what you can learn from it. Have you ever noticed how many people who have gone through great challenges become stronger and wiser? These situations are life's tests for you to discover and grow. And speaking of growth, this brings us to another great challenge of modern life: overthinking. In today's world, it's almost impossible not to catch yourself overthinking. Information comes from all sides, and our mind jumps from one thought to another, like a television switching channels non-stop. This overload of stimuli creates a mental restlessness that many know all too well. The problem is that this constant agitation steals our peace and prevents us from living in the present. How many times have you been in a place, but your mind was miles away, lost in thoughts that lead nowhere? Another side of this is when we fixate on a single worry and keep ruminating, unable to break the cycle. Have you ever had that thought that feels like a repetitive song playing over and over in your head? It can consume you, preventing you from moving forward. The solution begins with recognizing this pattern. The practice of Buddhist teachings can be a powerful ally in identifying when you are stuck in this cycle. The first step is to realize that overthinking will not solve the problem. It's like trying to empty a pool with a leaky bucket. As with any habit, it takes practice and discipline. Meditation, for example, offers a way to slow down these thoughts. When you learn to focus on the present, whether on your breathing or a simple object, you give yourself a chance to pause this mental storm. And that's just the beginning. Meditation is an ancient and powerful practice that, though it seems simple, brings deep transformations. Shurheng reminds us that by focusing on something as basic as the breath, we can train our minds to break free from the vicious cycle of overthinking. Imagine meditation as a tool to reprogram the brain, allowing it to slow down and concentrate on what truly matters. At first, it may seem challenging, but over time, this simple act of observing your breath creates a sense of calm and control. A good way to start is by setting aside 5 minutes a day to sit in a quiet place. Close your eyes and simply observe the air flowing in and out of your lungs. It's not about controlling your breath, but about noticing it like an attentive observer. Gradually, the thoughts competing for your attention will lose their power. It is at this moment that the true power of meditation is revealed. You begin to command your mind, rather than being commanded by it. This constant practice not only helps relieve overthinking, but also promotes greater self-discovery. Over time, you will find yourself more aware of your emotions and reactions, gaining a more balanced perspective on daily challenges. And speaking of balance, the combination of focus and openness that meditation provides brings us to the next essential point. Knowing how to balance focus and openness is like having two sharp eyes, one focused on what's in front of you and the other capturing the bigger picture around you. In many moments, we are tempted to lose ourselves in the details, forgetting that there is a broader world happening. However, focusing only on the big picture can make us miss the nuances that truly drive change. A true master of life knows how to navigate between these two postures, combining absolute focus in critical moments with an openness to the larger context. This practice of alternating between focus and openness is useful in various areas of life. At work, for example, you may need complete concentration on a project, but without losing sight of its overall impact on the company. In everyday life, it could be a conversation with a friend or family member, where your full attention strengthens the bond, but your wider perception allows you to understand the other person's needs. This balance is a lesson that Buddhist teachings often remind us of. Don't lose yourself in extremes. To achieve this balance, a practical suggestion is to train your mind with simple exercises. One example is practicing alternating between short periods of focused meditation, where you concentrate on a single object, and open meditation, where you observe everything that arises in your mind without judging or interfering. This type of mental training prepares you to better handle the flow of life. And as you develop this skill, you'll be more ready to practice mindfulness even more effectively. Practicing mindfulness is like waking up from a deep sleep and seeing clearly everything happening around you. When you are truly aware of each action, thought, and emotion, you gain the power to choose how to act instead of merely reacting to what happens. This practice allows life to stop being a game of chance and become something more intentional, more aligned with your desires and goals. By being present in the moment, you disconnect from the autopilot that so often controls us. A simple example of mindfulness in daily life is being completely present while performing routine tasks, like eating or walking. Instead of letting your mind wander to future worries or past memories, you focus all your attention on chewing, sensing the flavors and textures of the food. Or, when walking, feel the contact of your feet with the ground, the movement of your muscles. These moments may seem trivial, but they have a profound effect on how we connect with the present and avoid overthinking. The constant practice of this full awareness also has a direct effect on our process of self-discovery. The more you engage in the now, the more you notice aspects of yourself that previously went unnoticed. Every conscious action reveals a new layer of who you are and how you want to guide your life. And with this clarity, the journey deepens, tapping into the power of body and mind in harmony. The mind and body are deeply connected, and physical training can be a powerful bridge to discipline the mind. The Shaolin practices are a clear example of this. Precise, repetitive movements like kung fu strikes or meditative postures not only strengthen the body but also shape the mind. By synchronizing these movements with your breath and intention, you develop sharp focus and mental resilience that goes beyond physical practice. Each movement becomes an opportunity to focus on the present, clearing distractions and scattered thoughts. This physical discipline isn't exclusive to Shaolin monks, it can be adapted by anyone. A mindful walk, where you focus on the rhythm of your steps and your breath, can be an excellent beginning. Other practices, like yoga or martial arts, help align body and mind, providing a space for the mind to calm down while the body works. The key is to turn movement into meditation in action, where each gesture has a purpose and is executed with full attention. When you train your body this way, the mind naturally becomes stronger. Each physical challenge overcome teaches the mind to break its own limits, becoming more resilient and disciplined. This is one of the pillars of Buddhist teachings that connect the physical to the spiritual. Mastering the body is an essential step toward mastering the mind. And as you confront physical pains and obstacles, you begin to discover the power to face and overcome mental and emotional pain as well. Pain, whether physical or emotional, is something we often avoid at all costs. But Shaolin teachings show us that facing pain head-on is the path to transcendence. When you accept discomfort as part of the growth process, it stops being something that paralyzes you. Every strike during physical training is an opportunity to learn how to deal with pain more effectively, until it no longer controls you. The body becomes stronger, and with it, so does the mind. This lesson can be applied beyond Shaolin training. If, for example, you face an emotionally painful situation, like the loss of a loved one, the instinct might be to close off or run from the feeling. However, by facing the suffering, you find within yourself the resources to process that pain and eventually overcome it. Pain doesn't magically disappear, but your relationship with it changes. Pain becomes a teacher, no longer an enemy. Overcoming pain is actually a form of self-discovery. With each pain faced, you discover new layers of strength you never knew existed. Buddhist teachings remind us that pain is inevitable, but prolonged suffering is optional. By accepting this challenge, you free yourself from the resistance that amplifies pain and creates space for growth and transformation. And this acceptance prepares you to face other emotional challenges, like anger or fear, which we will discuss next. Emotions, like physical pain, have the power to dominate us if not faced consciously. Anger, fear, jealousy, these are forces that arise unexpectedly and can lead to actions we later regret. Buddhist teachings point to mindfulness as the key to recognizing these emotions when they arise. The goal is not to repress or deny these feelings, but to acknowledge them, understand their roots, and respond in a more measured way. A practical exercise is to observe your emotions without acting on them immediately. When anger arises, for example, take a deep breath and mentally note, "I feel anger." By labeling the emotion, you create a space between feeling and action, allowing for a more thoughtful response. This doesn't mean denying your feelings, but giving yourself the chance to process them mindfully. Over time, this practice will help you better understand the patterns of your emotions, making it easier to act with balance and clarity. Another important point is to understand that emotions are like waves. They come and go. Just as a wave rises and eventually falls, emotions also have their natural course. When you recognize this, you begin to trust that anger or fear won't last forever. They will pass, and in their place, clarity will emerge if you allow it. The path of self-discovery through Buddhist teachings is, above all, a journey of trust in the process. From overcoming overthinking to transforming pain into a teacher, the lessons are all interconnected. Each small victory, whether mental, emotional, or physical, brings you closer to a deeper understanding of yourself and the nature of life. Accepting reality as it is can seem like an immense challenge. At some point, we all fall into the trap of hoping things will get easier, that the world will become fairer, or that the people around us will change. However, The true teaching of masters like Yi reminds us that external peace is not guaranteed. Violence, injustice, and difficulties are part of the world's nature, and our power is not in changing them, but in preparing ourselves to face them with balance. This acceptance does not mean passivity. On the contrary, it is a proactive attitude of mental and physical strengthening. When you accept that the world is chaotic, you start preparing to navigate it more wisely. This could mean strengthening your body, as taught in Shaolin training, or sharpening your mind with mindfulness practices. The central idea is that by accepting reality, you find the freedom to act more consciously, rather than being dragged by circumstances. Accepting the world as it is also paves the way for true self-discovery. By stopping the fight against what cannot be changed, you release your energy to focus on what is within your control, your actions, your choices, your growth. This level of acceptance places you on a new level, where personal responsibility becomes the key to creating a more fulfilling life. And speaking of creating, let's move on to the importance of actively building the better times we so desire. Waiting for the perfect moment is like watching the rain, waiting for the sun to appear on its own. The best moments in life don't fall from the sky, they are built with conscious decisions, facing both internal and external storms. Many times, we postpone our actions, hoping everything will magically align. But the reality, as the great masters teach, is that the only real moment is now. And it is in this now that you need to act, overcoming internal barriers like overthinking and uncontrolled emotions. Creating better times starts with identifying what inside you is blocking your progress. Whether it's overthinking, fear, or anxiety, these obstacles will only be removed if you are willing to face them head-on. A practical step for this may be incorporating daily meditations or moments of reflection, where you assess what is holding back your actions. Sometimes, it's the small habits, like excessive use of social media or procrastination, that drain your energy and stop you from moving forward. Building a better future requires determination and action. Self-discovery does not happen all at once, but with every choice you make, with every moment in which you decide to face your challenges instead of waiting for external changes. By focusing on what is within your control, you realize that the best times are not in the distant future, but begin to be created in the present, with every step you take. And that is the essence of the journey we are on. Now that you've discovered the key to stopping overthinking, the question that remains is, what will you do with this knowledge? Start today by practicing mindfulness, meditating, and training your mind as you would your body. Only you can create the better times you so desire, and that starts now. If you are ready for this transformation, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and continue following our videos for more teachings on how to overcome the challenges of the mind. The power is in your hands.